everyone. Welcome back to She Bird Podcast. I'm your host, Brooke Wright, and today's guest is Glenda. Hi, Glenda.
Hey, Brooke.
Thank you so much for being a guest again.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. You're very, very, very smart, very fun, and you have great questions.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
So, can you tell us a little bit about your early journey into music and writing?
Sure. It really started when I was about, oh gosh, I don't know, 10, that those gloomy days when you're starting to come into puberty,
Oh, yeah.
12, whatever it was, right? You're like, oh, life is bad. I hate my parents. That kind of thing. And that's really when I started to write original music,
Mhm.
just as an expression, right? And then of course I went into live performance and singing with bands and that type of thing. And it wasn't until I think it was like the early 90s when I went, you know what? If I want to sustain myself in my career, I need to be writing music,
Mhm.
like officially writing music. And so that's kind of when I started writing music. I didn't, I never thought about writing books. So that, that was not on the agenda. I'm dyslexic.
Oh,
Um, yeah. So, I had issues with that, and I don't read well out loud. All those things are just like piling up. So it's like, yeah, that's not really a passion at that point, right? Till later. Yeah.
wow. So, did you get like help writing your books?
Actually, no. I started when I decided I was going to write my book in 20 um let's see, 20 2020. Um, I had a really good friend that was writing a book for 10 years.
Mhm.
And I thought, wow, that's a really long time to be writing a book. Like, that's ridiculous. And so in my mind, I was thinking that when someone's taking that much time, they're actually not getting stuff done. Like, they're actually not executing something, right?
Yeah.
pulling the trigger, which happens, right? People, "Oh, I'm going to write a book," and this never happens, right? So I thought, well, thought to myself, well, put your money where your mouth is. Like, what? Why don't you write a book? And I went, what? And I thought, okay, well, what do you have to offer? What's of value in your life that you could share with others,
Mhm.
that would actually make a difference, not pontificate or be narcissistic about anything. It was more of like, just what is it that I've learned? How have I grown in my life, in my business, in my own transformation? What is it that I learned that's practical that I could share with others? And
Mhm.
that's really how it kind of came about. And I sat down with pen and paper. I had no idea. I didn't look this up or anything. And I just thought, okay, well, it seems like there's an outline.
Mhm.
It
Yep.
seems like there's a step-by-step process. And so I started with that. I just went, okay, what are the 12 to 15 things about what I want to share?
Mhm.
What would they be? And of course, I broke those down. And I
Mhm.
realized that what the important thing for me in my life and how I work through things was clarity, courage, confidence, commitment, and community. And in my world, that's how it happens. You can't have a community if you have no clarity. You don't know who you're going to be hanging out with. You know what I'm saying? Or
Right.
you're attracting people that do not resonate with you and you find yourself in chaos, right?
Right.
So I thought, okay, well, let me write about that. And so I used my life as stories that I triumphed over my own trials, so
Mhm.
to speak. And that's kind of how it started. That's how I did it. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to write this book, and I'm going to write it in 15 chapters in 15 days.
Wow.
Hmm.
That's nice.
And
What?
yep. And so, but here's the key. I took one chapter a day, and that's it. I made my outline. I followed my outline. It's like letting the outline actually tell you what to do. Don't go forward, don't go back, stay right there. Talk about clarity. That was the first, right? We're going to talk about clarity. And then I had to get into clarity and what that was all about. And then I did tell a story about how I got clear, right? And then at the end, I thought, well, let me put some things in there that could help other people to like think through getting through clarity,
Hmm.
to get to clarity, I should say. And so that's how I did it. And I stayed with it, like, and I did it in 15 days. Now, top that.
What?
After I finished it, then I went, okay, I'm taking a few days off. And then I went back and I go, okay, just read through it. And I read through it and I went, oh no. Oh hell no. No. No, I went, really? And then you start to see yourself adding more things, taking out stuff, that type of thing. So then I did that over the next month or so. And then I sat on it because I was going back and forth in Boston with my music partner. And I was going back and forth, and he decided to move out to the West Coast.
Oh.
So which is where I'm at now. And so we had to put that on hold for a while. And I threw it to a good friend of mine that was an amazing coach. And I said, hey, would you just read through this and see what you think? And I wasn't thinking anything. And she reached back to me and said, oh my God, this is a book. She's like, you should like really write this. I mean, like, not finish it, but I mean, you should really get it. Oh, edited is what she said. That's what it was. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not a official, author, book writer, right? And so she turned me on to this lovely woman, and she took all my material, everything, and just kind of spruced it up, made sure it wasn't run-on sentences, making sure that the grammar was proper and things like that. And she was always throw it back to me and make sure that I wasn't losing my voice.
Yeah.
Because I speak in a real, chill style. I'm not, literary. Collegiate,
That's awesome though. That is. Wow. So what was the first song or book that you created that made you feel like this is what I'm meant to do?
It was one of those things where it was always like that. It never was not like that. So, I mean, I was singing at 4, I sang professionally at 16, meaning I got my first paycheck. And then I was on the road by 18, traveling around the world with my bands, or the US, actually, US and Canada at that point, world later. And, it was just something that I loved to do, that it was a contribution to people. It was my talent. And then as time goes on, you just evolve. You evolve as a person, ideas, that kind of thing. And then you just kind of, one thing leads you to another.
Man. So I know we talked about this on my last show, but I don't remember if you told me. Have you ever been to my city yet in Louisville, Kentucky?
I've not.
You haven't?
No.
Oh man.
No.
You're gonna have to come here so I can see you live because I can't travel.
I would love to. I would love to. I'd have to find a really cool venue to come and play. Yeah. Louisville, Kentucky.
I'm gonna look up some because I want you to come because I want to show my mom your music.
Okay.
She was just talking about it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I would love that. I would love that. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So, how has your creative process evolved over the years?
That's really a good question. I think it comes to not so much creativity. Now, this is like really key because everybody, I believe, is creative, right? I think we all have inspirations, ideas, creativity, that kind of thing. Everybody has that. It's just, how do you structure it? How do you actually manifest it into the world, right? How do you do that? Especially if we're dealing with, I can't, so you're around people that tell you can't, that kind of thing. And that's when it gets tough. For most people, and then you just put your dreams and passions on the side. You don't have the bravery or the courage to step forward to, like, you know what, I'm glad that's not right for you, but you know what? It's right for me. I'm gonna just get out there and try it. You
Oh, yeah.
know? Yeah. So
Oh,
that's what
yeah.
I would say.
Wow. So what's the most rewarding part of performing live for you?
Just knowing that when it's an honor. You get to I get to stand on I'll just say I get to stand on stage and give my talent, my gift, my God-given gift, whatever you want to call it, to others. And some people will love it and get it, and some people won't, and that's fine. I mean, I haven't saw that experience. I'm like, I haven't seen anybody run out and go, no. Haven't had that. Um, but it's such a treat to know that you've really contributed to somebody, in
Mhm.
some way. They could have been having a bad day. Like I have a really good friend that today I think is having a really bad day, and I'm going into the studio
Oh,
at 4 and I'm recording a couple of new tracks that I'm going to be sending to a gentleman, fellow artist in the Recording Academy. I'm going to be sending him those tracks for him to use for Grammys this year. And so I'll be down there doing that. And I told my music partner, I said, why don't we just invite him into the session?
yeah.
Because there might be something that inspires him or heals him or whatever, gets him out of that funk or that weird place. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm willing to do that. That's an opportunity to give back to somebody. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, well, I hope
yeah,
they start feeling better. I understand exactly what he's going through. It's good to have people like
yeah.
you in our lives because
Oh,
whenever we're like sad and going
yeah,
through stuff, then we have people like you to turn
yeah,
to that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's to me, that's what it's all about. I mean, I get to use my gifts,
Mhm.
and it's really to be there to help people find their gifts, their heart, their passion, their just that's really what it is for me. That's as an artist, I consider myself an artist, not
Mhm.
just a singer or a songwriter or an author or Reiki master or what, it's like to me, it's more than that.
Yes,
It's big.
definitely. So, when you
Yeah.
were growing up, who were your biggest influences?
um, you're trying to get my age. Um, girl. Let's see. Okay. So I would say um really young, it was the monkeys.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. It was the monkeys. But there were so many along the way, you
Mm.
know, as especially being a musician, because you're playing other people's music, you're finding yourself, you're finding your expression, you're finding all of it as you grow and you evolve. And I would say to date, my influences and my inspirations would be Prince.
Oh, yeah.
um,
Oh, yeah.
just because he had it all: clarity, courage, confidence, commitment,
Yes,
community. He had it
yes.
all. He had it all. And the sad thing is that his love of what he did hurt him so bad that he ended up, falling prey to um, the drugs, because of
Mm.
the pain. But yeah, somebody like that, to me, that is a true artist. That is a true Picasso. That is a true author,
Yeah.
somebody that's willing to give themselves over to a gift to share it with others, not only for his own, creativity and his own well-being, but he gave it to so many people and he never gave up. Like he just kept going,
Yes,
got it out there, didn't take no for an answer. you
yes.
know he was a mighty, mighty spirit.
Yes, yes, he was. I'm about
Yeah.
to show my age too, cause growing cause growing up, my mom always played Prince, so
Yeah.
I listened to him when I was a little girl. I feel so old now.
And I trust me, you're not. We're
Oh, man.
eternal. Don't let the skin cracks fool you.
Man, man. So how has being a Grammy-nominated artist influenced your journey as an author and performer?
Wow. Well, it's I always thought, oh, for a long time I went, oh, if I just got a nomination, if I was just nominated, if I just nominated, if I just nominated, and I got nominated, and I was like, whoa, I need to win. I need to win. I was, wait a minute. It was kind of weird at first because I was a featured artist on this album called The Fury,
Mhm.
and Antonio Vergara was the sole proprietor basically of the whole album, and he heard me sing and he was like, oh my god, you're an amazing singer, I love what you do, would you please consider working on my album? And I said, well, send me the track. And he did, and I was like, okay. And then I got sick and it was really tough singing, but I worked it, sang the track, sent it back to him. And I said to him in the note, I said, if you do not like it, please let me know. I will re-sing it, because I was struggling, right?
Mhm.
So I said, I will re-sing it. I will re-sing it. And he sent me a note back and he goes, no, you made me cry. And
Oh.
I was like, what? Okay, good. So I knew I was onto something. And then the album, got nominated, and we were this close to winning. Like there was some kerfuffle going on, but we almost won.
Ah,
Yeah. So
dang.
I know, but that's okay. Nominations are great. And it took me a minute to really settle in with, I'm part of a project that was nominated. So that means I'm nominated.
Mhm.
And but part of me said, oh, well, your name's not on there. So you
Oh, yeah.
didn't get nominated. You know what I mean? That's like
Yeah.
how one thinks, right? Maybe not everybody, but I do. So it took me a couple of months, like, to even just get it.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
yeah, like just to get that, hey, this is a nomination.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a great achievement for a
it is.
Grammy.
Yep.
Man,
Yep,
that's
it was.
amazing.
Yep, it was there. And I was there. I was there at Grammy, so it was fun.
Man.
Yeah.
So on Courage and the Inner Fire, your book,
Yeah.
so it's such an inspirational message. What prompted you to write it?
Um, yeah, I think I basically said that earlier when I was talking about it started out as a joke, not like a joke, like, let me take that back. Not a joke. That's the wrong, incorrect word. More like a challenge of like, well, if this person's taking 10 years to write a book, I could probably write this thing in like that, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yes, I did, and yes, I did that, and yes, I'm always challenging myself to say, okay, if you want something, focus on it, feel it, see that, be the end result, and then do it. You know what I'm saying? Like allow yourself to follow the steps to create the magic in your life.
Yeah.
And so that was part of it, just proving that of course I could do this, even though I have dyslexia, even though, whatever, even though it started out as like a little challenge for myself, like, oh, I could write a book, And what I realized, silly me, is that, yeah, there are some books that take a while because they have research involved.
Mhm.
I was not researching anything. I was researching myself, so I have access immediately to that. Talk to me about clarity. Well, not like, oh, I got to look that up, So I totally understand that, not every book is equal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So what are some of your rituals or practices that you use to stay centered in your truth?
Yeah. I'm not one to wake up early. I'm a night owl through and through, but I've been waking up at 7:30. But again, it takes me like an hour just to get back in my body, to get,
Oh, man.
oh, it's tough, man. Because I'm a night owl just naturally, if noon would be great. No, probably naturally these days I go to bed like at midnight, sometimes 1 if I push it. And
Yeah.
just because I've played most of my life, and you're up till 3 o'clock in the morning, easy.
Yeah.
And then I would get up at noon, right? So my clock's all backwards for the last 10 years. So I start my ritual out by, you know, trying to allow myself to listen to something positive in the morning, because you're in that in between state of wake and sleep, that delta or theta state. I think theta state, I think, is when you come out. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, and I just really try to set the intention for the day. What do I want to create today? How do I want to be? What do I want to have? You know, those kind of things. I kind of go through my little spiritual mental checklist and, you know, do my exercises, stretching, you know, the whole 9 yards. And then I come back and then I start officially my day with creativity, if it's that, or seeing friends, or researching or reading. It just depends. It's different every day, which is good for me. Yeah.
Nice. So do
Yeah.
you ever, I know that you've said you meditated before. Like, do you use those meditation bowls? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. No. Those are the crystal bowls. They're beautiful. Crystal, or they also have um, um, oh gosh, the metal ones. What are they? The Tibetan bowls. You know, they're
Yeah.
made out of, I don't know. Anyway, you can use that for clearing a room, like cleaning a room or whatever. But yeah, crystal bowls they'll send you into a really nice state. But I usually don't do that. I do guided. Like I love Joe Dispenza. He's great. Guided meditations. You know, that's what I'm on right now these days.
Oh, okay. I'm
Yeah,
gonna try that. Give that a try because I
it's
think
nice.
that would